Hello fellow collectors, I hope you are all doing wonderfully well. Here at the start of this new year, while people are still thinking about New Year's resolutions and what they want to achieve this year, I've got a video that's a little bit different for you. It's a discussion video, but it's one that's going to be about what I want to achieve. It's a little bit more personal in nature. I'll be talking a bit more candidly about my collecting and why at the start of 2023 I want to take a break from collecting. So I'll start things off by just appreciating what a great time it is to be a physical media collector. I've had Heath over at Serial at Midnight say more than a few times that he thinks we're in a golden age, and I think that sums things up really nicely. While across the board, of course, physical media sales are undoubtedly down, what's taken its place is merely more niche, but caters directly to us who love to collect these things. Every week and every month it seems like there's more and more films getting released, many on Blu-ray or 4K for the first time, opening up whole new worlds and areas of cinema that we haven't had access to before. I think the recent Sight and Sound poll is a real testament to the great job that the boutique labels that we have are doing to make so many more films more accessible. And it delights me that we have so many great boutique labels doing this, releasing these curated collections for us all to enjoy, from Criterion to Eureka to Indicator. All putting their extra effort into these releases, so making sure not only the transfers are great so that the films look the best that they ever have, but also putting that effort into the extras as well. Whether that's what comes inside the case or if it's new interviews with cast and crew and directors. But Goose, I hear you say, if things are so great, then why are you taking a break from collecting? Well, my fellow collector, let me tell you. The most important reason for me is to look after my finances. Now, since I got back into collecting more properly back in early 2020, it's no exaggeration to say that my finances have not been the same since. You know, it's a well-worn joke in our space, isn't it, that we treat our wallets badly as a bit of a punching bag and basically just set them on fire when a good sale comes around because there won't be any use afterwards. And it's a funny joke, but it's one that has more than a kernel of truth. At least it does for me. Now, I actually keep meticulous record of my collection. I forget when I started it exactly, probably around September 2020. I did a spreadsheet so I could keep track of what's coming into my collection. And so that's still going to this day. I've got it broken down by DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. I've got a separate section for TV shows. I keep track of everything that I've got on pre-order, whether I've paid for it or if I haven't paid for it yet, when it's due to release, anything that's in the post to me at that time. And I also break things down by what I get in a month, and then of course, because it's on the spreadsheet, I can look at what I get in a year as well, or in the entirety of the time that I've been collecting. And next to every single title, I put the amount of money that I've spent on it as well. And so, as I say, I've got my entire collecting history pretty much for the last 2 3/4 years. And let me tell you, when I look at that total, I don't like what I see. And when I look at that total, it's easy to see why my finances have been struggling, because I've spent a crazy amount. And along with that comes guilt and comes worry. And let me be brutally honest and say that I've gone into debt over my collecting as well. I'm in my overdraft as we speak, and I've also done quite a lot of you pay in 3. So if I don't have enough money to pay for something today, well, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Because I can pay a third today and then pay the next 2/3 over the coming months. But all that does is compound, and it's damaged my finances even more. And what I've been discovering is that it's because I haven't been able to say no. And that's a real key thing for me, not being able to say no to buying something. That's a bit of a warning sign. I like to think that I live by a little bit of a motto where it's okay to have things, but not for things to have you. And I think there's real value in that. But I've been coming to the realisation, I want to say recently, but really over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months, that actually collecting has me, and it's not the other way around. When you can't say no to something, that's a sign that something has to change. And this has really come to the foreground for me because at the end of 2022, I really sort of let myself go in terms of collecting and just accumulated an awful lot. I really went to town on the Indicator sale, as you can see by the shirt that I'm wearing. Criterion titles were also on sale. The BFI titles had a big sale, a big price drop. I bought a load of network titles as well, pre-ordered the Radiance titles. All these companies having got hold of a big chunk of my hard-earned cash. And I think that's really played into things for me as well, because it has been hard earned. Work has been tough and still continues to be really tough. And you know, when you buy a Blu-ray, when you buy a box set, you get that little retail therapy high. It is a mood changer. And for all the stress that we feel at work, I've certainly been feeling it a lot. That little mood changer makes a big difference. And unfortunately for me, it's got to the point where not only is work a source of stress for me, but actually my collecting has become a source of stress for me as well. I mean, hobbies exist so that they can take our mind off the troubles and the worries of life. We have something else to put our attention and our focus on, something to really get passionate about. And when your hobby itself becomes a source of stress for you, that's definitely another warning sign. Just to put things in a little bit of perspective, just to show how much I've been struggling to say no to things. At the end, around October, I think it was, last year, Mantelab had announced that their pre-orders for 2001 A Space Odyssey were going to go live. And I'd had it in my mind that November, I didn't want to make any purchases at all. I wanted to try and have a collecting break in November. And so I thought, 2001, that will be my last purchase. And I was pretty satisfied with that. There was plenty on my shelves for me to watch, and I was thinking, let me just pre-order this, and then that will be it. And you know, a little bit in the back of my mind said, I don't need to get anything until the new year. You know, I don't need anything for November. I don't need anything for December either. And now I also sort of casually collect some games as well. And just a couple of days after I'd made that last purchase for October, a game company that I like announced that they would be releasing two games that I absolutely love. One was $100, the other I think was $90. And then just I think the day after that, Radiance announced that they would do a bundle where you could pay £350 and get all of their titles from, I think it's June or July, up until the end of 2023, which was just a fantastic deal. And I was like, oh, I have to get these. I can't skip out on these deals. And just a few days after I'd said to myself, I'm not going to make any more purchases, I was already considering spending £550, £600 on these things, including the shipping as well. And something just clicked in my brain, and I was like, this can't continue. I can't continue like this, or my finances are never going to recover, and this is going to take over my life. And so I thought to myself, let me set myself a goal for the new year. Start of 2023, let's start things a bit differently. And what I've set for myself is to not make any new purchases for the entirety of January and the entirety of February. A small goal, that some might say, but I think it's just important to make ones that are achievable. In my mind as well, I would like to make no new film purchases as well for the entirety of March. So really I'd like to go the first full quarter without buying anything new at all. But I figure, let me just set myself January and February as the one that I really, really want to do. And I think that will itself make an enormous impact on my finances and just sort of help me to reset with how many films that I've been buying. The thing with all my accumulation, particularly towards the end of last year, is that I actually have about 154 titles sat on my shelves waiting to be watched. And at the end of last year, I think Letterboxd said I watched about 306, 307 films. So really, in reality, I've got more than enough films to keep me going for 6 months or more. But as I say, it's just a small goal, an achievable goal that I think can just help me to reset. And then once I am back into purchasing, if I decide to go back into it, which, well, let's face it, I definitely will do. What I want to try and do is actually budget and then stick to that budget. But I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So what am I going to do to try to curb my spending and achieve this goal of not buying anything new for a couple of months? Well, there's a couple of things that I've got in mind and that I've started already as we're a couple of weeks into the new year at this point. The first one is unsubscribing from some emails. So I don't see what's coming out. I'm not in that position of thinking, oh, I have to get that, I have to pre-order that. I'm going to try and stop checking the deals on Blu-ray.com every single day, which I do every single day, at least once a day, if not more. I've moved all of my films that I've got on Amazon wish lists and that into just one particular wish list, which I've sort of put further down so I don't see it as regularly when I look at that. I'm also going to try and visit forums less, and then also spend less time on eBay. I can't tell you how many purchases I've made just out of boredom, just scrolling for something on eBay. And you know, often what I've done, especially over the last years, I'll just put Eureka out of print and just be scrolling, and then all of a sudden there's one that comes up that I think is worth bidding on, and that's a good deal. I can't tell you how many Blu-rays I've accumulated last year just from not having any desire for them in particular, but then you see something and then you get a desire for it, and then you know, can't stop thinking about it until you actually go for it. So I'm going to try and find other ways to spend that time, you know, sat on the bus where you're not really doing anything else, or just those little moments of boredom where you might just scroll, or you just might see an email or something like that. I'm going to try to do my best for at least these couple of months, or 3 months really, to do something else, or just to actively not look at that sort of thing, to not get that desire for these new titles. And so you might ask yourself why I'm even making this video, and I mean, usually you don't see my face, and really the only reason my face is in it is because I couldn't think of what to put in the background as I was talking. So hopefully my face is interesting enough to look at as I babble on. But really why I've made this video is just to reach out to anyone who might be dealing with the same sort of thing. I think a lot of people have their collecting under control and, you know, budget and stick to that, and all that sort of thing. They're not going to be in a similar position. But I think there might be some others like me who just struggle to really get things under control and not just go full gung-ho into things and spend all our money on it. And so I just want to, if I can, encourage and motivate you, if you are going to take a break, or if you've been thinking about taking a break, to do so. But to make sure that it's achievable. Don't set some crazy goal of not buying anything new for, you know, the whole year, which, you know, we're all probably going to fail on. But just set something that's achievable. You know, I think until November last year, where I did have a little bit of a break from collecting, I hadn't gone more than a week without buying a new Blu-ray for, you know, 2.5 years. And so, you know, setting myself 2 months is more than enough time to really try and reset my collecting habits. And so if that's the same for you, then that's what I would suggest doing. You know, start with a day, start with a week, start with a month, whatever works for you. But I just really hope that for a couple of us who might be dealing with a similar sort of thing, that, as I say, I can just encourage and motivate you to take a break and get your spending under control, and get your collecting under control as well, so that it can be the source of joy that it's supposed to be. And that's everything from me today. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far in the video. I know this one was a bit different, and it's not really something that we often talk about in our collecting space, but I hope at the very least you found it interesting, if not encouraging and motivating. Collecting should bring nothing but joy to our lives, and I really hope that I can get back there before too long. So, my fellow collector, thank you so much for sticking with me, and I'll see you in the next video.